producers. Abdusattorov with black, the clash of the friends, but both sides wanting to win. This was already a critical moment. The white rook has just landed on d1, and black, with his last move, has brought his knight forward. Here, Javokir Sindarov with white could have seized the initiative if he had broken his own pawn structure, given a check, gone for some dynamism instead, forcing the black king to decide. Maybe the black bishop should jump out the way. Another idea for white would have been to step forward with the pawn, bring the knight back and in to a nice outpost on d6. But he tried to create chaos on the board here, Sindarov. He played pawn to e4, but he never really got a chance back into the game after this. First, black castled with gain of tempo against the central pawn. White's king now became extremely weak. d5 met by a check. We see some exchanges, and rook takes d4. This wasn't played because Sindarov thought that he was Kasparov back in the day. It was purely desperation, because suddenly, after rook takes d4, rather than taking the material and allow the white queen out into the center, the black pawn steps forward to b6, trapping the white knight. And what happened next was just so glorious. Rook to d1. The black queen came in to threaten some mates. The white rook defended, and I think one of the star moves of the day, another contender for move of the day, rather than taking this knight, allowing the white queen in, for example, g5, pawn to g5, just getting the bishop into the game, and white is pretty much paralyzed, just nothing to do. And queen e3, he realized he could switch up the tactics this time. Take, knight takes pawn due to a pin on the e-pawn, and after queen back to e2, finally he took this knight off the board, and the rest was very straightforward. A nasty check, the white king too far out in the open, and Tanya, he delivered what was about to be a mate. Just a few moves later, white resigned here.
You know, this was absolutely brutal to watch. I think from start to finish, just the way he executed the attack, and we were talking about how you're not friends with someone once the game gets going, no friendship over the board. But David, once such a game happens, I think it's hard to be friends even once the game is over.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to go and hide my head here. Sindarov, poor guy, he didn't do much wrong.
No.
Just one bad move, but he was punished so brutally.
Yeah, just incredible stuff. Well, there was this one more moment that I want to bring up, and it's from the Levon-Arjun game, and because this was a huge, huge win for Levon Aronian against Arjun Ergai. So, you know, a late surge. We spoke about how he's playing spoilers, and if we can just back up to move 44, because I thought this was incredibly instructive, you know, an end game right here that's happened, and it looks like things are under control, and I checked with the engine. The only move in this position which Lev had to find was actually go behind that white pawn and keep things defended, and it's not that easy, because you see the king comes to b3, you go back with your rook to d2, and the point here is that you actually provoke white to push that a-pawn forward. Only once it goes up to a5 do you make the move that was made by Arjun, which is rook to d5, attacking that a5 pawn, giving up your e2 pawn for this one. But even at the top level, how easy it is to go wrong. Arjun, instead of going on that a2 square, David, here went back to d5, and here just beautifully converted after this. You know, he gives that g6 pawn, takes that pawn away, picks up the rook on e2, and suddenly the black king is too far away, the white king very close to a4, and was just completely lost with that assist. And I think this just shows how incredibly hard these rook pawn endings are. And if you just back up to that one moment of rook to a2 instead, I just want to show one more line, which I thought was really nice. Rook a2, king b3, rook d2, and I think this is where it gets tricky. The point is that white's king can't actually move up anymore, because king b4 runs into rook d4 check. And thank you very much, you're queening.
Oh, deflection. That would have been a full turnaround. Arjun, that's really tough. That could be, well, a tournament ender for him, potentially, losing to Levon. Spoiler.
It could, right? And that's the thing. When you've kind of lost so many games, and for Levon to just play this for Arjun, he gets a win in the previous round, but goes down to Levon Aronian. It's not what he wanted. Notterbeck getting that win against Javokir. Things are mixing up at the top, but you know, the one man, James, who doesn't surprise us at all, remains at the top with that win against Fabiano Caruana.
That's exactly right, Tanya. Thank you so much to both you and David for the breakdown of the games that we didn't have the opportunity to necessarily focus on in that round, as most of our attention was paid to the top bout between Magnus Carlsen and Fabiano Caruana. Let's take a look at those results coming out of round number 5, with only 2 more rounds to go here in our round robin to conclude the group stage day. It is going to be Magnus Carlsen at the bottom there, taking the win over Fabiano and creating some separation at the top of the table, but it's decisive results across the board. Vincent Keimer and Notarbek Abdusattorov get it done on the black side of the board. Levon Aronian finally gets a win, but maybe too little too late against Arjun Ergai. Eragaisi. From here, we can flip to the overall group stage standings, where things continue to take shape and players are running out of time. Magnus Carlsen, he holds sole possession of first place with 4 points to his name. Vincent Keimer now slots up into a tie for second place alongside Fabiano Caruana, 3 points each. On the bubble is Hans Niemann and Nodirbek Abdusatorov with 2.5 to their name. Arjun Eragaisi hot in pursuit, only half a point behind them. Javakir Sindarov and Levon Aronian, they're on the outside looking in at 1.5 points apiece. With 2 rounds to go, let's take a look at our round 6 matchups. Heading into it, let's see who's going up against each other. First, we're going to kick things off with Vincent Keimer and Fabiano Caruana. So, from a battle for first place against Magnus Carlsen, now in a battle for second place against Vincent Keimer. Magnus will continue to look to push the pace against Arjun Eragaisi before Nodirbek Abdusatorov and Levon Aronian go at it. Hans Niemann and Javakir Sindarov, that'll round out our 6th round of the day. It's really starting to become do or die time. I think a lot of these matchups in particular, too, when you're looking at those 2.5 point holders and those 2 point holders, the guys who are just on the outside looking in, that's going to be the focus of this 6th round and the home stretch here on our group stage day. The players are just about ready, so one more time, we're going back into the playing hall where Fiona is standing by for the position lottery. Take it away.
Thank you so much, James. Welcome back. With 2 rounds to go, the race for the 4 qualifying spots is getting tighter and tighter. And here with me, I have Sabo, content creator from Turkey, who's going to draw the next position. And Sabo, can you tell us a little bit about what your experience in Weissenhaus has been like so far?
Yeah, last year I was here too, and now I'm staying here, so it's very exciting to be here again. And there are a lot of interest from Turkey, and there are 2 Uzbek players playing here. And hopefully next year, Yazgan and Ediz will be here as well. So very exciting. Let's see what will happen.
Let's see 2 very exciting prospects indeed from Turkey. And Sabo, are you ready? So the next position is number 255, position number 255. To the players, good luck. To everyone watching, have fun.
Demek 6. turdagi kurani aytib o'tgan bo'ladim. Demek ikkita favorit, ikkinchi va uchinchi o'rinni egallayotgan Vincent Keimer va Fabiano Caruana hozirda o'zaro jang qilishgan. Magnus Carlsen Arjun Eragaisiga qarshi, Nodirbek Abdusatorov Levon Aronianga qarshi, Hans Niemann esa do'stlar, hozir matematik hisoblaydigan bo'lsak, bizga juda qulay kelyapti. Vincent Keimer, Fabiano Caruana kamida bittasi ochko yo'qotadi.
Yeah, we should avoid that.
Arjun Eragaisi, Magnus Carlsen. Biz albatta Magnus unishiga bu yerda umid bog'lashimiz kerak.
We should avoid that. Yeah, that's bad.
I'm scared of garbage.
Qarab tashlab bo'lmaydi. U
If we can play F5 with impunity, I think we should.
qoladi. Shuning uchun uni birinchi o'ringa chiqarib yuborganimiz ma'qul. Demak, bu yerda Magnusning g'alabasini kutadigan bo'lsak, Nodirbek Abdusatorov Levon Aronianga qarshi edi. Albatta Nodirbekdan
G3, G6.
Javohir Jigarov esa Hans
Knight B3. How's it done?
Take that.
Ochkolar soni bo'yicha o'zaro o'yin hisobi bo'yicha Javohir oldinga chiqib qoladi.
But this is something special.
Yeah, it doesn't look special.
Endi baho bersak bo'ladi.
Make a couple of moves.
Also, play knight b6 first if we want.
Shaxsan Vincent Keimer yutadi deb o'ylayman Madina. Magnus
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, so
Queen is well played.
on the knight.
Albatta duo qilib qolaman. Hans Niemann esa Javohir o'yinida Javohir yutishga endi majbur. Boshqa imkoniyati yo'q va
Yeah, it's very accessible.
agar Javohir yutadigan bo'lsa.
Okay, how bad can this be?
Yeah, it doesn't seem.
How expensive?
Turniy jadvali taxminan Magnusda 5, Vincentda 4.
Plus, I could like try d4 in the end and try to get e4.
Yeah, so you get some double stonewall, no?
Yeah, but maybe white gets knight to c5 first.
Okay,
so should also consider these things.
Aytib chiqqan o'yinlarim
B6?
to'g'ri keladigan bo'lsa.
B6,
Do'stlar,
C5.
bu yerda hech kim badardi emas.
Like it's E4, G3, D3, E4.
Baribir ko'p yurtdoshlarimizga omad tilaymiz. Balkim qaysi joylarda yon bosayotgan ham bo'lgan. Bu tabiiy.
G6. Okay, always this stuff also can be G5.
Ham Rayev
Can we play G3?
shunday ba'zi o'tiradi.
Take. E5. H4. Let's go. Okay, yeah. We have slight action if we develop. You're slightly better.
Qo'llab-quvvatlaymiz. Ulardan 2-0 hisobini g'alabalarni qolamiz.
Also too much in. I don't think anyone. 95? Queen A4? Yes. 6. No, I like this. Knight C7, G7. No, it's not the best. King B3. Yeah, but this. I mean, Knight F6. That's hard to read on Knight C2. No, Knight F6. Bishop D4.
You don't want this.
I don't think we want this now. Can we? We don't have other options first.
We really can allow F5? I don't think so.
No?
I don't think you can allow F5.
I think F5 you should play. I don't think it's necessarily that big a deal, but in like Knight B6, Knight B3, for instance, like how are we not playing F5? Huh?
Yeah.
What about D6, C5?
No? B6.
And B6, G2, and D6 here?
Johir Keymerni ham yutadigan bo'lsa, ochkolar hisobida yo'q. Yarim ochko oldi bo'ladi. Hozirgi tur natijalarni ko'rish
So D3 looks like
D6, D6. Yeah, but we try and cheat the tempo now by doing this. So
this move order, yeah, without F5.
Yeah.
But then I just think this is...
no. So F5. So G3, D6.
Yeah, so what do we gain with this tempo? C5.
And you're trying for 97.
Yeah, knight A4.
Time for 90, because 94? 94 scary?
Yeah, 94 I will go if it's
Queen A5.
I mean, yeah,
o'zim
queen.
ishonmaganlikdagi
Yeah,
o'xshab
if it
ketganda
works, it's fine.
We
This
come
is alright.
first, huh?
qanday bu safar hammasi
I was thinking also like Queen D7 and Queen A4 easy. Oh, that's true.
Okay, so the question is...
Why doesn't White do the same?
It's going to be position 255 for round 6 out of 7 here in our group stage. But as I quickly hand things over to Tanya Sachdev and David Howell, I'll note that Magnus is back in his discussion pod, and he's looking rather comfortable.
And why wouldn't you be, right, James? 4 out of 5 just beat Fabiano Caruana. The only time Magnus Carlsen has been in trouble in Weissenhaus was yesterday against Ella. Today, chess has gone fantastically for him. You can see him in a good mood. And a lot of them looking at this idea of symmetry on the right side of the board, opening up the bishops. The one thing that stands out to me, David, is with the 4 bishops tucked in on the right corners, we're going to see very few trades early on here. No big face-off.
Exactly, no big face-off, likely some kind of symmetry on half the board, but all of the minor pieces still intact. It's been a trend today. We've seen a lot of positions where f4 is the best move because something hits the a7 pawn, whether it's a bishop, a queen. We've seen it today, and just to get a peek inside the players' minds, f4 seemed to be a unanimous decision that that was the way to start, hitting an undefended pawn. And rather than just defend with the black knight, for example, when white might be able to save a bit of time guarding against the opposite threat on the a2 pawn, here most players were discussing f5 with symmetry, and rather than go into these variations with lots of exchanges early, as we've seen multiple times throughout last year and this year, it looks like pawn to f5 was the way forward, and this is where we were seeing the players discuss, okay, maybe a pawn structure such as this one with the two connect threes. I guess if you can't get 4 in a row, why not 2 sets of 3?
Has this been one of the very rare days where we haven't seen a connect 4 so far? You must be destroyed on the inside. Oh, we
saw one briefly, but it was a bad version.
That is rare. Usually connect 4 and David's calling a win on that one.
Exactly. It feels like this is the type of pawn structure they're looking for, and I don't know, it feels like it's going to be a tense one, Tanya, where it's going to be longer games, a lot of nerves in play.
Again, because you don't really see a way to actually trade pieces early on in this, and we also saw the players talk about how the knights were going to jump onto the A file, combine with ideas with the bishop, putting pressure on those B2, B7 squares. It's going to be really fun, and with just 2 rounds remaining, quick prediction here, will we have tiebreakers for that third, fourth place?
I said before the day started it was 50-50. I still think it's roughly that. I think it's going to come down to the last round, and if there's going to be a tiebreak, just 2. Maybe on 4 points.
Yeah, I mean, I think Magnus is the only one running away with 4 points, right? Handshakes there, Magnus versus Arjun. Can Arjun be the one who puts a stop to that hot streak? I don't know what you think, James, but I would love to have a long day in office today. I'm hoping for those tie breaks to come and take the fight down to the wire.
Well, I couldn't agree more, Tanya. More chess is always a good thing. And as the standings currently sit, I think we might be moving well on our way to a tiebreaker, pending the results from this round in particular, because there's a few matchups that can play key roles in developing tiebreakers. Levon Aronian against Nodirbek Abdusattorov. Levon largely playing spoiler, but he can hold Nodirbek at 2.5 points. The same can happen in the Javakir Sindarov and Hans Niemann game. If Javakir takes the win, they both are at 2.5, so that would immediately be 3 players all sharing 2.5 points right outside the top 4, moving into our final round of the day. So, will Levon Aronian be able to play spoiler to the hopes of Nodirbek Abdusattorov? As well, Vincent Keimer, Fabiano Caruana, they're going to be duking it out for sole possession of second place, currently 1 point behind our tournament leader in Magnus Carlsen. Still a lot to be determined here on our first day of group stage play as the players take their seat and we await the signal for play to begin. And the gong has sounded, the hands are outstretched, and away we go into the 4-board bird's eye view, because akin to a number of our starting positions with a cornered bishop, it's almost no surprise that we see all of the players immediately reach for that f4 pawn push.
Wow, but there is a shocking event, f4, f5, c4, and that's kind of a pawn sacrifice. But if you take bishop takes c4, then after b3, hitting the bishop, then bishop takes a7 will collect the exchange. Yeah, that's kind of a... Judith, what do you make of this sensational c4 move?
I'm shocked at first.
So you're both shocked, but what's interesting to me is that all 4 boards, so they're in perfect alignment with each other, the players with the white pieces, that this is something they wanted to take a risk on, perhaps.
Well, I don't know. At first, I thought maybe bishop c4 is possible. And after b3, we just move back, and can black sacrifice the exchange, bishop a7? I mean, especially that there is a beautiful h8 bishop opening up. What is that a1 knight is doing there? But of course, at first, everybody will be thinking heavily what to do. And Magnus is one of them, right?
Yes.
What is this c4?
I would like to add one very interesting thing you mentioned, is that Magnus was in very cheerful mood, relaxed. And then we had in this team Levon Aronian and Javakir Sindarov, who are both with 1.5 point at the bottom, basically out of the fight. And they were kind of also, you know, in a mixed mood. And Fabi was the only one, the 4th one, who was very tensed. He hardly said anything. He was following the action because he knows that his next game against Vincent, for example, is so important. Yeah, whoever wins there qualifies. Whoever loses will be in this danger zone. And draw is maybe a result that suits both players. But we know that in freestyle you cannot really force any draw. Forget about the draw because then you lose.
A draw can never be relied on. But it is an interesting point because Fabi is usually a much more vocal member of those groups, but exactly to Peter's point, speaks to the importance of the matchup and getting it done here and now so that the pressure isn't mounting even greater going into the 7th and final round of the day. I am noticing something on the top left-hand corner of our screens. Vincent Keimer Caruana, I see an X on the board, so perhaps we dive into that game a little bit more specifically, because Fabiano's response, at the very least, the computer is not a fan here.
Yeah, not a fan. It's a kind of a surprising decision that Fabi decided to use these drastic measures, because it really weakens all the light squares around Black's king. The knight is cornered on a8. That it simply means that the move knight b6, which was played in many other games, I believe, or it definitely happened, after d3, he was just not happy to be slightly worse, long-term slightly worse, and he decides that maybe b6 at the moment it's not so good, but if I get c6, knight c7 out, then long terms I will have more potential with my position. Judith, what do you make of this?
Well, when there is a knight on a8, I'm not really a fan of b6 generally. And at the same time, when you play knight b6 against c4, it's also not much fun because you get b3 or d3. I guess d3 would be the move. And it's also not much fun with having the knight on b6. So, interesting enough that Magnus was thinking the longest with how to react on c4. It looks like a bit passive for Black, though interesting that Vincent, I see that he likes to bring his queen pretty often. In some of the other game, it was like f4 and queen g3, move 3. Now it's move 4, queen a4. Somehow he likes to ask questions and straightforward bringing out the queen. Do I see it right?
Probably, but it also makes sense in a rapid game to ask some questions in the beginning. Please burn some time, that puts pressure on you. Yeah, and Fabi, I think, is not happy to be faced with such questions, because all of those questions are connected with what do I do with the hanging pawn on a7, which white just attacked.
You defend, queen c7.
Yeah, queen c7, but the knight was supposed to be going to c7. Yeah, that's how you feel. On the other hand, with queen c7, you might be slowly preparing some kind of castles. Maybe the best would be try to castle all the way to the king's side, but do you have time? That's another big question.
Queen c7, the knight f6, or knight d6, and only I have to move my bishop.
Okay, white will play g3. I have to protect the pawn on f4, and then how could it continue?
Okay, let's say I just continue knight f6.
Knight f6. Yeah, this is your.
I mean, maybe I have other plans like going e5 and break the center, or somehow g5, open the long diagonal bishop on h8.
Yeah, this is always typical. Yeah, but if you play g6, then at least the plan that you had in mind to castle as quickly as possible will probably not materialize.
But I will still want to castle short.
Yes, that's for sure. Yeah,
maybe
all the way.
More time.
All the way, yeah, evacuate the king. It's always such a big pleasure, yeah, to go on the other side of the board from where the action is.
Evacuating sounds like I'm having trouble.
Well, with pawn b6, c6, and Fabi spent some time, took his time, and played the move queen c7. James, what do you make of this? How do you feel?
Well, what's interesting to me is going back to what we heard Magnus say multiple times in the group discussion. We heard him reference multiple times in his comfortable state. Oh, this is okay for us, right? We're not worried about this. He seemed very, laissez-faire about a number of the situations. I have the perspective of all four boards here. All 5 players with white are advantaged in some way, shape, or form. So I wonder if Magnus missed something overall about the uncomfortability of the position here for Black.
No, I don't think that this is also the psychological state of the situation, yeah, that when you feel already comfortable, you feel like, yeah, I'm qualifying, then you take it easily. Yeah, that, okay, but this is fine, this is fine. If things are going in the wrong direction, then you are always more pessimistic. You see dangers everywhere. Yeah, I think it's very much connected. And I have also heard this from other players that sometimes they were complaining that Magnus, when he's in cheerful mood, he's, tossing out ideas, directions that otherwise, if he would really mean business, he would not be thinking about it. So then how much do you get affected by what Magnus says, who knows what he's talking about usually. Yeah, it's a very tricky kind of spot.
His confidence breeds creativity, but sometimes that creativity can bite you back.
Can we go for a short time to Erigaisi Magnus?
Let's go.
We
Because
absolutely
I think
can.
it's so engaging that basically Erigaisi Arjun did not make a single move with his pieces, only pawns.
Now, see, this
It's like a pawn war.
is the most freestyle position I've ever seen. I feel like in freestyle more than in standard chess, pawn moves can be extraordinarily effective because of the placement of minor pieces, right? I can effectively develop a piece by moving a pawn, whereas in standard chess, I might be forced to move a minor piece in order to develop it rather effectively.
Yeah, now the big
A7
question.
pawn is there, it's hanging, I can take it, right?
Yeah, you can take it. You can also maybe include CD. Yeah, this is,
Yes.
I think, the big question that what do we do with this tension and with the hanging pawn on A7? How do we combine? Do we make the most out of it? Because certainly it looks promising, but if you take on A7, that might not work. Let's just quickly get this out of our system. Why computer thinks that this is a wrong idea? Well, he says that, okay, just rook A8 hitting the bishop falls back, for example, to F2, and then black captures the pawn back on C4. Let's not forget, black's bishops are also there, eyeing white structure. So once we understand this, that this is good for black, then the question appears, what happens if we include CD5 first?
That's true, probably CD5 is better. It's just, I think that it's the first time we see a game like that after move 6 or 7, that basically someone did not play with the head.
Yeah, only one piece in the whole game is off the back rank.
Yeah, CD5.
And CD5 on the board. This is on the board. And just very quickly to understand how we got here, because things heated up. F4, F5, C4, knight B6, D3, and finally then white was using this A4, A5 idea, which I was really worried about. Yes, B4, E5, Magnus tries to break in the center, and then A4, D5, A5, knight D7. I always like to feel the logic, yeah, how we got here, because then we understand better how the players are thinking about the position.
And I gotta wonder if Magnus is feeling as comfortable as he was 10 minutes ago in the analysis segment, because with Arjun in a slightly advantaged position, I'll remind everybody that a decisive win between Fabi and Vincent, if Magnus is to drop this game here, puts him back into a tie for sole possession of first place. So all of a sudden, he's fighting again for that opportunity to choose his opponent going into the knockout rounds. A question mark given to his most recent recapture here in the center of the board.
By the way, yeah?
Yeah, by the way, actually, Arjun continues playing first line engine. F takes E5, also best move, including this move, so that black will not be able to push some E5, E4 probably for long-term compensation, burying out that bishop on H1. And talking about all these qualification spots, if Arjun beats Magnus Carlsen, he's very much back in the mix.
That's right.
Yeah, then suddenly Fabi Vincent will also feel the heat before going to the last round.
Absolutely. Now my question is, finally, there is going to be a move from anyone on the first rank, bishop A7.
I was told by the Indians that actually Arjun loves to grab material.
Yeah.
And because I knew that he's an aggressive player, I was thinking like he likes to sacrifice. And I thought, no. He actually likes to take. And I played with him in the World Cup. I got knocked out by him in the tie breaks. He grabbed my pawn. And I thought, oh my, I forgot about this, that he is ready to grab my pawn if I give it.
A tough way to learn that lesson.
Yes.
Well, right now, he's got the world #1 on the back foot.
Check on C2. No, he comes back.
I think he wants to put a knight on C2 and knight on F3 and then occupy the D4 square. Wouldn't it lovely coordination if white, let me just even highlight it with arrows, and then visit on the D4 square. That looks beautiful.
It looks very dangerous for black. I mean, black has to play in the next 3-4 moves to show something, how to get some play.
Yeah, how to get play, because it's not just a pawn. Black is also strategically having a compromised position with this isolated pawn and the weakness on d4. Let me just very quickly highlight that why it was so essential to include this FE, because probably Magnus was banking on this idea that if white grabs the pawn, for example, like this, then there is always this e5, e4, and you see black has a lovely pawn structure. Suddenly the bishop is out of the game, and black can potentially long-term play for compensation. But after FE, bishop e5, bishop a7, rook a8, bishop e3, long terms, we are also seeing big runes in black's structure.
Okay, so maybe we go back for Vincent game?
Or something, maybe bird's eye view, just to get a feel where the most action is happening.
So first out to the bird's eye, as requested by Peter Lecko here, just to take stock of the whole field again as the pressure is mounting for all 8 players. I'm noticing a pretty even board state there for Sindarov and Niemann in the bottom right of your screen. Niemann at 2.5 points to Sindarov's 1.5. Of course, Vincent Keimer and Caruana, the board we will end up going to, but as well, Abdi Satorov here up against Aronian. We talked about how Aronian could play spoiler, but right now it looks like the young Uzbek player is looking to move up to 3.5 by the end of the day.
Yeah, maybe we can even visit that game first, because if Nodirbek wins that game, then he's really very much also back fighting for the qualification spot.
Yeah, we've got a pack of players at 2 and 2.5 points, all chasing those with 3 and above. Nodirbek, one of those. As we dive into his matchup against Levon Aronian, of course, we get there right as the engine gives a small question mark to this most recent pawn move.
But it's the most aggressive one. Judith, take it away. B4, what's happening?
Yeah, b4, like opening up the b file because the king is on b8. It's kind of logical. At the same time, actually, I'm very surprised on e5, though, of course, one day white must have the idea to play e5 and open up the diagonal for the h1 bishop. So it's also understandable that Levon said, no way that that bishop will come into the attack. No way. And after b4, at first it seems dangerous, but on c5, nothing really happens because we see knight takes c5 would be the case. So my question is, what happens if can white go b5, even possibly close, and after queen b6, a4, and somehow to push very fast? Is the queen going to get in trouble, or?
Yeah, maybe I will have to go to a4 instead, yeah?
Yeah, but at first I thought it's scary.
Yeah, probably I will have to. And I'm now maybe threatening some knight b6. The pawn on d6 is hanging, then all hell gets loose here. Queen takes d6, e takes f4, but it feels like all this craziness, all the complications would be in black's favor, because we were afraid to be black, but if things heat up and gets out of control, that's
but
good news.
But he meant f5, not b5. Of course, it's not no temptation to close the position with b5. You want to keep the tension. f5 is the logical reaction on e5. Knight b6, attacking the pawn on c4.
Yes, also very important to highlight that now with this e5, f5 construction, what white achieved is that black's bishop on h8 is out of the game, yeah, because this structure is fixed, and it will be always very difficult for black to decide on capture on f5, because then you will also open up the light squared bishop for white, yeah, that is actually waiting to be opened up with all this tremendous pressure on the b7 pawn, with rook on b1 also lining up. But at the moment, how does white react? Because the pawn on c4 is hanging at the moment.
I was wondering, can white go rook fd1, trying to take advantage of the pin on the rook on d8?
You have time, yes? Yeah, just rook fd1 and setting up...
I don't know if I have time, but I have plans.
Yes, you have plans.
You found the top engine line, so you definitely have time.
Yeah, and what do we do? What does Levon have in mind?
I would like to be playing it with black.
Is maybe knight takes c4, knight c4, bishop c4, bc d5 an idea?
No, you should take d takes c5 and we can show that it's...
Ah, okay, let's do that.
That's my plan.
Exactly.
We've seen one checkmate today, who knows?
Yes, so that's why my plan was to counter it with something like d5, and I hope to bring that bishop into life. It's Levonish. This is the Levon style. Yeah, he doesn't want to be passive.
I don't know. Queen B2. You're not afraid?
Well, my feeling, if you want to know my feeling, if I don't lose on the spot, I might be okay. Yeah, but it's very far from clear if I'm not losing yet. But yeah, let's take a look, because Nodirbek is taking his time. What other options does he have? This look at the is a very logical kind of reaction. James, what do you make of the player's body language?
My goodness. Oh, the body language.
The body language, of course.
I mean, honestly, I don't feel like Abdusattorov is too uncomfortable. He was flipping a piece there for a little bit. But I do think he recognizes that this is a fairly critical moment in the game, which is why he's taking the time. He's down to 3 minutes on his clock. He still has a minute to give before he matches Levon Aronian.
And what do you make of his heart rate? 122, going up, 24, 25?
I feel like that's about where I would expect it to be. Again, given that he is right now playing for a stab back into the top 4 overall. And so there definitely is pressure in the moment that he's feeling, but he doesn't necessarily, you know, I think the time isn't getting to him just yet. I would expect him to match the 160 of Vincent in not too long.
Yes, actually b takes c5 was the other top engine move, so bc5, dc5. I was kind of imagining in my mind from distance when this knight b6 happened that Levon, as an Armenian, rook d4, the position actually sacrifice from Tigran Petrosyan is very much in the cards. Put that rook on d4, invite white to grab that rook, and then you take ed4, open up, you get structural benefits, is something that might actually happen. The big question is, where does white place his queen?
Yeah, that's the odd thing to me, is that he kind of opened up that file with the threat already existing on the queen. Of course, he has the opportunity to move it, and he does choose queen to c3. I guess maybe looking to trade off one of those rooks with the knight capturing back on d1.
Well, rook d4, there you go, there you go. But right now it's not even a sacrifice because you can't take it. But it was clear that as an Armenian, it's in your DNA that in such positions you bang rook d4 out. Yeah, it has to be played.
Instantly.
Instantly, yes.
Instantly, very important. Knight d5.
Quick response, though. He's going to look to cage that rook in. Does get the double question mark, a blunder.
Because it's not a blunder. Probably there was some winning move or something.
No, not winning, but something definitely better. But yeah, it's. I hate to see these double question marks because it makes sense. The move is good. Don't do this to us and to our dear audience, yeah, because, okay, everybody gets a heart attack, knight d5, big blunder. No, it's just a good move.
Right. Yeah, instead the engine wanted knight back to, let me see here, back to...
Of course, thank you very much. Back to, exactly, we don't know where.
Wanted knight to d2.
Yeah, no, okay, ignore it, forget it. It's just a computer. If computer plays against computer, let them figure that out. No.
We'll see this unfold, this game. Still a lot of things happening. In the meantime, I think Magnus is in huge trouble. I don't think he can save this game anymore.
Oh my goodness. Then we must go. As Arjun Erigaisi looks poised to take down Magnus Carlsen.
Look at this.
This would shoot him up the standings from 2 points to 3 and keep Magnus Carlsen within reach of multiple players.
I mean, this is the position which you don't even want to get in your nightmares.
Yeah, you don't even wish to your biggest enemy, because this is now the king on c8 and all the dark squares and the d4 control. This is horror.
These are the positions when you say, I mean, you just want to make a good move and you resign because you don't want to suffer longer.
Yeah.
I mean, look at this c1. James, would you win it against Magnus?
No, I would not. I would find a way to lose this, but Arjun Erigaisi, he will not.
Tabii finalli falan dostlar.
Yeah, this is a golden opportunity. Let's take a look at the clock situations, also up on the
Not
clock.
much better.
Yeah, exactly. No, yeah, Magnus. And by the way, if Magnus loses, then he looks so comfortable. And when I said the players are fighting for some sport, no, sports, a lot of sports to be grabbed. Yeah, actually, who knows what the results will be in this round, but it will be a crazy last round.
Well, Hans is also getting in trouble. So there are a lot of change of seats happening.
That's right. Yeah, Javakir Sindarov, a full point behind Hans, would pull himself into a tie if he takes him down. Again, Magnus Carlsen, if he takes the loss here, remains at 4, which gives Fabi or Vincent the opportunity to tie him if either of them come away with a decisive victory in their game against each other. Looks like Vincent has a small advantage on that board. All of the players across all 4 boards, though, now moving into time trouble and time scrambles.
Yeah, King H1, the final little touch. The king moves out of the pin, so now the white knight will be mobile for any kind of tactical shots. And yeah, look at Magnus's body line. He knows that this is horrible. This is in very bad position. There are no good moves. Yeah, and this is a very bad one. Look, AC8.
Yeah, head in hand.
Total frustration.
But King H1 was a killer silent move. It's going out of the pin.
And now he's going for direct kill.
King
Yeah.
shows up on G7.
Well, yes, wait a second. Queen G7 checkmate. No, King D6.
Knight D4.
Oof, when the king is the most active piece. No. This can't be right. No, it's all over. I mean, knight d4 is there. On knight d4 there is knight e8. No, I can't believe that there is still any defense. Then I have queen f8.
Well, the dilemma is big for white. Knight B4, maybe that's the...
But the knight d4 is so aesthetical. Yeah, just get that knight, the horsey, back to d4. Enjoy to the maximum.
Beautiful square for her to land on, hitting the rook currently. Magnus is going to defend, doubling his rooks here on the e-file.
Now, do we win the queen with rook c6 or not?
No.
Yeah, exactly. Rook b4 on the board and designs. Because it's checkmate. Let's just put it on the board. Rook b4, queen takes b4, rook c6.
What a game
is
by
checkmate.
Erigaisi.
Phenomenal. I mean, just control from beginning to end, right, against the world #1 there. So showing us why Arjun Erigaisi should be feared in a format like this. He's an aggressive player. He's an attacking player. He's not afraid to pick up material, and he does just that against the world #1. He moves up to 3 points and is now in a solid striking position for a top 4 spot and a bid into our upper bracket. We still have 3 boards in play. I think we should jump over to Javakir Sindarov and Hans Niemann just for a brief moment. We might have to make a trip from one board to the next as the results come flying in. But as we get there, you'll see Javakir Sindarov, the only player with the black pieces to have found a way into a winning position.
Yeah, he's having a dominating position. Also, strategically speaking, this should be a win. He's also up material, probably. His pawn up. Well, there is no chance here for Hans to survive this. But for Javakir, on the other hand, it's already too late to win. Yeah, because he 2.5 points. Okay, he needs, but no, what does he need?
Yeah.
Let's go to Fabi against Vincent because that's the critical
For
one. No?
Sindarov, he needs to win 2-0 and then look around. That's what he has to do.
Yeah, there's a possibility we end up with a massive 4 or 5-way tie. That gives some people new life. But I like where your head's at going to Vincent Keimer and Fabiano Caruana. Since Magnus Carlsen took that loss, it looks like Vincent Keimer is on the verge of tying it up at the top of the standings, looking to undo Fabiano Caruana, who had a brilliant start to his day, but has slowed down just a little bit on the back half.
Well, he lost to Magnus and he might lose again. And is he safe at all? Yes.
He's in danger zone, suddenly.
And he resigns. Vincent Keimer wins, and basically with this he secures kind of probably with +2 sharing first place with Magnus
And
Carlsen.
look, Vincent again had 160.
Of course, because this win kind of guarantees qualification.
Now you were safe.
I was safe. Yeah, we are not following the game.
Wow. So Vincent is tying first with Magnus.
That's right. With that win, 3 players with the white pieces take home a victory and a full point for themselves. This leaves only Javakir Sindarov and Hans Niemann in play. And as we return...
Because Nodirback won as well.
That's right.
In the meantime, so he's 3.5. Suddenly he's on.
Yeah, Noria back and Arjun both 3.5. And Fabi just 3.
Arjun at 3, not 3.5.
Ah, 3. Ah, okay.
But again, how Fabi just went from second place
Where shared first.
to a
shared
that's
first.
true, to a tie for 4th currently.
Wow.
So right on the bubble and at risk of losing his upper bracket bid. Still waiting for Javakir to put the finishing touches on this one and push us into our 7th and final round, barring any tiebreakers at the end of the day. Magnus taking a moment to drink it in as well.
Yeah, there's Bishop C7. Bishop C7 wins on the spot, no? And then Bishop A5 check. Okay, knight before so good, but no, this is terrible for white. Nothing moves.
In this position, it's like there are good moves and even better ones.
A dream position.
So he will go back. No, he goes knight d3. Well, Bishop c7 would have been easier.
Yeah, he just wants to be systematic. He enjoys king e6. He wants to go king d5.
And how does he enjoy after a6?
He wants to give checkmate.
What about d5?
Judith, you are the master of checkmate.
What was on d5? Silence.
Rook d5, rook d5.
After d5.
I mean, rook d5.
d4.
And then king d7.
And?
Okay, I'm just shocked because it looks like black is completely winning, but why is he not winning it?
Knight a1. Look at that.
Just win.
Yeah, he gave white the chance to activate himself. He was completely packed.
Yeah.
I call it Paketovic. Yeah, you just can't move it, move anything, and now comes Bishop c7 when it's not winning. Knight b3. Hans is coming back. Clock situation.
Wow. From dead lost to having an opportunity.
Yeah, he can even win this. Of course, black should be still doing fine, but knowing what happened before.
Good poker faces on all of these super GMs here, watching this game perhaps slip away from Javakir Sindarov. I've got to wonder what all of them would have preferred to that b5 move.
Bishop a5, setting up bishop b6 check against bishop takes g3. Yeah, that's the idea.
And it's a crucial game.
It's a crucial game
For the qualification spots. So, bishop d6.
Oh, but now black with king on a7, but he goes pawn hunting with rook g1. Why do you do that?
Uh-oh, d5.
And for the first time ever in the end game here, all of a sudden we're at dead zeros.
No, but now it's forget about zeros. It's very risky for black. Bishop d4 check is coming. Black's king will be in a mating net. Just watch out for knight before fork.
Rook c2.
No, knight before check. Yeah, be careful. Yeah, that's. You have to move the king.
About only my plans.
King e6. Just hide that king somewhere.
Both players working with very little time on their clock.
Rook b1.
At least now with rook b1, black is back to safety.
Yeah, but a draw is not enough for Sindarov.
Yeah, but also for Hans, draw is nothing.
Well,
Keeps him in,
more
keeps
than
him in the
nothing.
fight. He moves to 3 points, right? So
Yes.
he'll be in a three-way tie at that point for third alongside Fabiano and Arjun and Ergaisi and giving himself chances going into the final round. For Javakir, if he wants any chance, even though mathematically unlikely, it has to be a win here. So he has to keep pushing.
Yeah, but now he's doing very well because he has an idea to put that bishop. He just goes, so he's not afraid of any checks on the back rank because he covers it with the rook and the bishop a7 played. Clever, putting some pressure. Wait a second. Javakir here blundered a7. Rook c8 check is a winning threat.
Rook b5 check. Isn't it only move?
But it's a total shock. He could have played rook b8 instead of. Wow, what? Hans is winning.
Stunned faces in the studio in this moment. And for good reason, just like that.
No, but not takes. Keep the rook.
Wow, Hans, he's going to just look to escape for the draw in the end here.
Okay, but what the game he was suffering all the things before.
He should be very thankful if he survives, but now, okay.
But he will not be thankful. No,
It should be a draw now.
It's a moment he'll look back on if he doesn't make
But
it
why
into the
is it
top
a draw,
four.
by the way?
Well, the king gets to d3 in time, and then with h2, when you go bishop f4,
King
h2.
f6, king d5, bishop f4, king c4, king g6, king d3.
That's exactly right.
King f5, h2, draw. Finally, we know what's happening, because before things were out of control. Yeah,
Figured it out just in time. My goodness. Looks like the players themselves have also recognized that this one is going to fizzle to a draw, so you can see a couple of them.
yeah, it's already ended.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Draw offered. The players are talking about it, and for good reason.
It's crazy, no? Two unhappy people there.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, one can just claim as much that I was winning than the other one, because there were moments.
Yeah, of the two, I would imagine Sindarov maybe slightly more unhappy because he is now officially out of contention for a top 4 spot, only adding half a point to his overall scoreline. Hans Niemann is at least still in the hunt, so he can kind of rest on that, knowing that now the pressure really mounts towards our 7th and final round of the day.
But Hans had a smile, noticing the other result.
Ooh, he took a quick peek up to the top, and he saw that Magnus Carlsen fell down to Arjun Erigaisi, and you can see their head in hand, so that's going to hurt, as now all of a sudden his top spot is threatened by the likes of multiple other competitors heading into our 7th round of the day. Yeah, Vincent Keimer and, of course, Fabiano Caruana, they were duking it out in that battle for second place, and it was Vincent Keimer who came out on top, so he is showing more magic here in Weisenhaus as he did just 12 months ago when he came away with the Grand Slam victory. We'll see if he can keep it up as he heads into the 7th round, but for now we're going to throw things back over to our deep dive make.com desk with Tani Sachdev and David Howe. What do you make of that round?
I don't know what to make anymore. I mean, magic is in Weisenhaus. We're going into the last round, and this is a script you could not have written. It is a tournament wide open. Who are the 4 players who make it through? It's going to be a fantastic final round. I mean, big upsets, right? Arjun Erigaisi's had 6 decisive games so far. David, 3 losses, 3 wins, takes down Magnus Carlsen. Vincent Keimer takes down Fabiano Caruana, and suddenly it's absolute chaos.
It is crazy. We could have picked out 20 different key moments from that last round. So many twists and turns, really topsy-turvy stuff. Tanya.
It was the hardest picking out a moment to show. I mean, this round, while you guys were analyzing, while we had Judith and Peter on the call there, David and I were really struggling, but you found some golden moments, David Howell.
We were literally writing down to each other like which moments to choose, but let's jump in and highlight Vincent Keimer, who now looks safe. Looks like he'll be a semi-finalist here at the World Championship at the very least. I just wanted to highlight this moment. It's 2 bishops versus 2 knights, but Black's knight has some threats, hitting a rook, hitting a pawn, the central pawn also under fire. Really instructive stuff here from Vincent. He pushed his pawn to e6. That pawn was probably doomed anyway. He's trying to wreck the black pawn structure. If this pawn were captured, then white could, at the very minimum, take on c6, bring another bishop to life, and looks like a big advantage. But what happened next? Knight to e5. Capture anyway, leaving the rook on b1 to fall, happily giving up the exchange here because he had realized that after some exchanges, it was the white bishops just too strong and the passed A and B pawns. Tanya, I was so impressed by this whole sequence, maintaining the advantage, and these 2 pawns ended up telling the tale, ended up winning the game for him, just to show a few twists and turns here. But when the dust settled, it was the bishop and the pawns. And here, nothing to do. Fabiano had to resign since B and A would promote.
This is amazing to watch Vincent do this, right? It was Weisenhaus 2025 finals between Vincent and Fabi, and he took down Fabi and won the tournament. And this one, just a flawless convert in the end game, down this exchange with the pawns, doing a beautiful job. And David, also what Arjun did against Magnus. I want to point out the first 9 moves played by a pawn. The 10th move, picking up Magnus's pawn and then going on to crush him. And you mentioned this in one of these sheets here. It feels like Arjun has Magnus's number in these round robins.
He seems to always beat him in the round robin. It always seems to be towards the end when Magnus is, already qualified or not quite at his best. In the knockouts, though, Magnus seems to turn it on against Arjun. So great result, though. Keeps this tournament alive, and everything rests now on this final game. Tanya, there was one key moment, though, I wanted you to show. One key tactic that could have ended things in Sindarov's favor, kept his tournament chances alive.
Let's do it, because we heard James say it at the end, right, that with the result as it went on, it meant an end to Sindarov's dream. But David, let's bring up that moment as it was. We saw this huge double question mark appear, and just a few moves ahead of this.
that was here. After pawn to h3, actually even double question mark slightly before this, allowing the move a7. I'll whiz ahead. There we go.
And right here we saw the check happen. And this is beautiful because there's only one winning move, a winning idea that white has here, and it's around a zigzag. You simply bring your king in to e6 and say you provoke the move h2, and only once the black pawn steps forward to this non-desirable square, you trade everything, give a check, win that pawn, thank you very much, and suddenly this endgame is winning, but instead it ended in a draw. This one did. End of chances for Sindarov. This is, so we've got one round remaining, a big one coming up. It is the final clash. It's a field wide open. Vincent Keimer at the top along with Magnus Carlsen. James, what's going to happen?
Ooh, I don't know what's going to happen, but I can at least walk you through a few of the scenarios. Actually, Peter and I were just doing some of the math, and there is a possibility of a four-way tie between players looking to get into the top four. And believe it or not, that four-way tie could involve the two guys who currently sit in first place, which would be Vincent Keimer and Magnus Carlsen. If you can believe it, both guys still have a pathway to fall out of the top four. Let's look at the round results, though, first to see how things broke down in round number 6. Vincent Keimer got it done against Fabiano Caruana in that battle between second-place finishers. He now moves up to a tie with Magnus Carlsen, who fell down to Arjun Erigaisi in that most recent round. Nodirbek Abdusattorov, he gets the win against Levon Aronian, and then half a point apiece to Javakir Sindarov and Hans Niemann, as Hans scraped away with a draw in that one to move up to 3 points to his name. So as you can see here, two players share first place with 4 points to their name, Vincent and Magnus. Then we've got 3.5 to Nodirbek Abdusattorov, who sits squarely in third. Then we have 3 players sharing fourth place with 3 points to their names. And as we pull up the matchups for this next round, this is where I'll break it down for you when it comes to who needs to win in order for that four-way tie to take place. If Javakir Sindarov plays spoiler to Vincent and gets a win over him, if Levon falls down to Hans here, Hans moves to 4. If Nodirbek beats Magnus, Magnus stays at 4, and Nodirbek moves to 4.5, taking sole possession of first place. And it is irrelevant which of those players wins. If either of those players in our final matchup, Fabi versus Arjun, gets a decisive victory, that is 4 players at 4 points, all behind Nodirbek Abdusattorov, and therefore those 4 players will be fighting for the final 3 spots in our top 4. So there is a lot on the line across all 4 of our boards. Even those who are out of the top 4 can still play spoiler to those who are looking to make it into the upper bracket. We've got nothing left to do but to find the position that these players will be doing battle on for our 7th round of the day. So into the playing hall and onto the stage with Fiona we go for that position draw.
The future belongs to those who make it happen. That's why we built Make, a visual-first AI and automation platform for change makers. It's never been quicker to start building, visually and without code, to automate everyday tasks and free your time and energy for bigger, better things. As your ambitions grow, you can accelerate progress with AI agents to create customized and agentic workflows, ones that handle complex, business-critical tasks while keeping you in control. And for leaders scaling business, you can see your entire AI and automation landscape in real time to orchestrate change and show progress in motion. Make automation and AI put to work for business, for teams, for you. Make it happen at make.com.
Welcome back. This is it, the last round of the round robin, and 6 players are still fighting to make it into the semi-finals. And to draw the last position, I'm delighted to be joined by Zach Sane, aka the chess nerd, content creator from Canada. And Zach, yesterday you got to play with a lot of our players. How was that? How was Content Day?
Content Day was excellent. I learned that Levon has the richest musical taste out of anyone I've ever met in my life. Vincent is the most honest person I've interviewed in my career. And Javakir over there is a massive football fan, which I didn't know. So very, very nice. I also lost my voice. I'm completely done. Very, very jam-packed day, but super excited.
Looks like a lot of our influencers lost their voice yesterday. And Zach, I'm going to move behind the table. Are you ready?
Xo'p, javob qilsanglar
Okay, let's go.
kerak. Nodirbek Absattor Qoradonlarda Magnus Carlsenga qarshi.
And the position is number 277, 277. To the players, one last time, best of luck, and to the fans, have fun.
Turniy jadvalida esa xo'p, Arjun bilan Fatih bittasi bitta deylik, masalan, Fatih to'g'ri ochko bo'ladi. Hans Yimon esa demak, Yimon Argenga mana shu vaqtda ham bo'lmadi deganda duranglarcha qaydladi. Fabi Gütze, Hans durang qilsa, Nodirbek kamida
T4. Yeah, T4.
Nasr Nodirbek Magnus Carlsenga.
Although maybe it's not, yeah, D44, maybe it doesn't. Might be 3. I think actually like this. And we can decide like this. Okay, what if E5? Maybe 7. Knight G3. What? Still playable. Even Bishop Queen 4 H2. Bishop. No, it's destructive.
Okay, but why don't we go here first?
Lekin bu musobaqada
Yeah, there's no downside to this, right? Knight B6, Knight B6.
C4. Why are we not better here? Yeah.
bizni har doim eshitasizlar.
Take Bishop E6. Change this on Knight B3.
Knight B3.
Yeah, Knight E3. Yeah. It's very hard to develop this. Like, okay, so then maybe D5. D5 maybe, yeah. But what? G5. G5.
G5. 3.
Yeah.
I mean, D5, G4, I don't see why.
Yeah, it doesn't change.
That has changed a whole lot. Okay. Let's. Or it just loses opening for.
Yeah.
Okay. So what about if they play C6 like Caro Constructor with G5? You don't have E5 because they have A6.
Yeah, but we. So this. E4. Knight B6. Knight B3.
Come E6, Knight G6. Maybe Black should have done this with the pawn.
Yeah, maybe Knight on E3 is not fantastic.
Also, Knight G3 looks reasonable. Yes, Bishop C7. I was planning to play. I don't know, Knight E6.
I think we should put pressure on D5.
Yeah, we should need to push to Knight E6.
Knight E6. This looks very suspicious to me.
G6. Yeah, Knight B3. E5.
Magnusga qarshi kuchli do'stlar. Birinchi turnirga aniq.
We're getting central. Yeah. No, that's maybe not G4, so maybe G3. I know Levon likes G4. H4, G4. I'm sure he'll play like that. Okay, what about G3? Knight B6. E4? E5.
Actually, we completely forgot about those things, yeah? Like any order like B4 and Bishop B2.
I think B4?
Yeah, like it is.
B3?
I'm not sure which one.
E5? Bishop B2, Knight G6. Knight G6.
Knight G6 is... I know you have to play for a win, but this is...
Okay, if I
Okay, now let's do the same.
Okay. B4.
It's better. E5. Bishop e26. Knight e6. Yeah, it looks fine.
This here.
Is G5 clear through? Take. Oh. With G2 F4 is it also bad shafter? Or, I mean, it's like... Yeah, G3 is also... Because the idea was to play F4 and then after takes on E4.
But then maybe C6, E4, takes G6.
Yes, and I was thinking this knight E3, something like F4.
Also knight B3.
But also C6, E4, G6 immediately. I mean, knight B3.
Yeah, but knight B3.
This is also very good.
Yes.
Yeah, here might should be better.
Yeah.
Okay, so we play D4, knight, D5, G3. And if no gambit.
Possibility of a four-way tie for second place going into our 7th round of the day. It's position 277, and as I turn to Tanya Sachdev and David Howell, it's a much different and more focused-looking Magnus Carlsen around the board as he sits on the precipice of falling into that four-way tie and possibly losing his top spot. What do you make of this position? Is it one that lends itself to decisive victories and a possibility of that four-way tie?
Nobody's safe right now. It all comes down to right here what happens in this final round. Even for Magnus and Vincent at 4 points, they need at least a draw to secure their top 4 qualification. This final round of round robin, someone tell Levon Aronian it's too early to fall asleep right now.
Yeah, I think the yawns, sometimes that comes out when you're kind of nervous. For Levon, maybe less at stake now than some of the other players. But Tanya, the side with the white pieces, they all look locked in, very energetic. Magnus taking the lead. It looks like the side with white want to play d4. I thought this was quite a rich position, a fun one. I was eavesdropping on Judith. She said maybe it's a boring one. So we'll see. Pawn to d4. Looks like what the white players are doing. The black team seem to be analysing b4, g4, releasing, for example, the queen on the diagonal, opening up squares for the rook. Maybe b4 would allow the white knight out or white bishop out. But they will be surprised, the black team, if they do see in this position the pawn push to d4, which seems to be what's about to happen.
That makes a lot of sense, right? You take control of the central square, you open up your bishops, and Magnus is actually discussing about getting his queen active really quickly if there was a Dutch response to this position with f5, g4, breaking open the rook and the queen, getting that activity going right now. But it all comes down to this moment, this final round, right? And I'm going to also mention, by the way, a lot of our Twitch audience lost a lot of money in the last round.
Oh, no.
They were betting on Magnus winning and securing that spot.
Oh, never bet against Arjun, especially when he's kind of got his back against the wall. I think, yeah, for Magnus and Fabi, who started so strong, it has been a bit of a shock, a bit of a return down to earth, and both of them now need results.
And there's a lot on the line, because if you finish first in the top 4, David, you also get to pick your opponent in the semi-finals. And with what's at stake, the World Championship title, that is massive incentive.
It is huge. It's a big advantage, but I think at this point, anyone would just want to qualify top 4, any means possible, even if they have to drag themselves through a long playoff. And I think for Magnus, for Vincent, just needing the draws, they'll be playing it a bit safer. For the rest, nothing less than a win will do.
And the big question is, how much does this position lend itself to that safe, cautious approach with the queen tucked in the corner, the rook ready to open up the G line, moves like d4, g4 being analyzed. I think it's going to be a thriller of a last round.
Bring it on. I can't wait. Everything at stake. And especially when so many players feel like they have to go for it. That's when the blood is spilled.
I'm going to say, David and I, we have our eye out on our Twitch chat. So send us, who do you think will make it to top 4? Who are the players who will qualify? 1 round remaining, 1 minute to start. We're going to throw it over to James, Judith, and Peter to take it away. Guys, this is where it's at.
That's right. It all comes down to this, a possibility of a four-way tie for second place and a big tie break at the end of the day. But for folks like Vincent and Magnus, if they want to avoid that, all they need is a draw or better, and they lock up with their spot in the upper bracket. That man on your screen right there, Levon Aronian, he has the opportunity to play spoiler to the likes of a Hans and Niemann as he goes up against him in this next round. Fabiano and Arjun, they're locked in battle, tied in their scoreline, so either of them coming away with a decisive victory will slot them up into a top four finish as well. There's still a lot in play for all of our players. The question is, who has it in them to finish strong here at the end of our 7-round day? The gong is sounded, the handshakes are extended, and away we go. Off to the bird's eye view.
And already I see 3 games starting with d4. Magnus is not yet at the board, so this is something of a surprise. d4, d5, g3 seems to be the thematic. Is this a Catalan? Is this a decisive round Catalan thematic match, or what's happening? Yeah, there is the handshake.
So where is the h1 queen going to be? Wow, look at that. e4. Levon is playing. Very solid. It can be a very solid game.
Well, and now Nodirbek is taking his time, and also Arjun, because if black plays knight b6 and white plays e4, we might be seeing a thematic match between not players, but by team white versus team black.
Yeah. And Magnus also has the same position, 2g3.
I gotta wonder how much pressure Nodirbek Abdusattorov is feeling while he sits very solidly in the standings. The idea that you could take down Magnus Carlsen just like Arjun Erigaisi did, and out of nowhere jump up to first place. That's got to be quite the amount of pressure to be feeling in this moment for your last round of the day.
But I think they like these challenges. I mean, he's very young. He's, what, 21, 22? And, I mean, what a chance it is. No? I mean, let's face it, it's the World Championship of Freestyle. And you have a chance to win the round-robin portion.
Yeah, but forget about winning. You also, like David said, I think the players want to qualify, yeah, because they are in danger zone. Yeah, for example, Nodirbek, if he loses, he's out.
It's true.
Yeah, and this is now also kind of a question that he knows that draw is good for Magnus. So what is then his kind of strategy? Because he's playing with the black pieces. Yeah, but we know exactly that if you play solidly against Magnus and you give him a comfortable game, then you will not get a draw.
Well,
yeah.
I have a two-part question. If I was to put you in his coaching corner, what would you be encouraging him to do, number one? And number two, in freestyle chess, is it really an acceptable game plan to try and play for a draw, since it's such unknown territory?
You can't play for a draw. Besides that, there is no draw offer, I think.
Yes, there is no draw offer, and there is no safety.
How can you make a draw? You're blinking to your opponent, and then you make a repetition of moves. What will be repetition of moves?
I guess it would just be
Queen F6, Queen H1, Queen H8? What are you going to be doing?
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily know the recipe for that. I would suppose that you would look to liquidate, pieces.
I mean, look at Magnus. He's just looking. He's so much in the zone, looking in the. I mean, they can't even look in each other's eyes. He's so focused. He knows one thing: he's not going to be losing. He's going to be qualifying, and then with all his anger, he continues the event.
Yeah, for example, we can maybe visit Sindel versus Vincent Keimer, because if we look at the evil bar, then we see that according to the engine, white has some huge advantage, and Vincent, according to computer, is in trouble. We don't know exactly how the players feel about it. But wait a second.
Well, the queen is the problem.
The queen is stuck, but Vincent is trying to castle as quickly as possible.
But he's not going to castle. I'm sorry. I go bishop h6.
Bishop h6. That's very annoying.
Forget about castle.
Yeah, that's very annoying. Yeah,
You're
bishop
happy
h6.
if you can get out with your queen, and then after bishop h6, possibly knight e3 also.
And if I try to play g5, can I go berserk with trying to trap this bishop with rook g6? You have some bishop h4, but bishop h5, knight f6.
Knight f6, yeah.
Yes.
I was thinking of playing h4. But maybe also knight f6 and And then I go back Queen H1.
Wow. Really?
I belong there, it seems, in this game.
Keeping the structure, yeah, it's very important for you to keep the structure, right? Because GH you want to capture with the queen, and then...
It's insane, no? Go Queen E4 and Queen H1. But if I show up on H4, thank you.
Yeah, but Bishop H6 is very principled because actually the whole plan that Vincent has set up for was that, yes, I understand why it grabs the space, but if I'm fast enough to castle and I'm able to set up the breaking E7, E5, then White's king will get into danger.
I even have another question.
Yes?
Isn't Bishop G5 also at least as good?
Bishop G5 castles?
Oh, castles.
Castles.
That you can
Immediately. I have calculated the Bishop G5 was on my horizon.
Yeah, okay. Knight E3 still.
I'm only afraid of Bishop H6, and I think this is a very critical moment because if Bishop H6 is not played, then Vincent will be happy. But after Bishop H6, the move Bishop H6 might be a total shock.
Yeah, but you found Bishop H6 so quickly. What would be giving Javokira any pause here?
Well, because I'm just a kibitzer, you know, I'm a fan that I want to go Bishop H6, and if something wrong happens, nothing happens with me. If for him something goes wrong, it's costly.
I see.
And he opted for F4.
I don't like F4, by the way.
Yeah, but F4, he at least makes sure that there won't be any break in the center. Yeah, he wants to solidify the position and just squeeze, because after all, yes, Bishop H6 was a very tempting option, looked good, but this is strategical. It's very much like Magnus' style. If Magnus has this position, then he's very happy. But okay, at least Vincent King will be safe, but what about the queen?
The queen, queen, that's a big question. But still, I don't like F4. I don't like this.
Okay, because you already spotted the beautiful Bishop H6.
No, the thing is that I don't like that it blocks my bishop for later. And also it exposes my king on E1. I understand that I have a problem with my queen on H8, but I think there are a lot of things can happen to white also. Though knight on C5 is show up.
Bishop E6. Yeah, he wants to get the... Yeah, but Vincent wants to activate that bishop, not to get stuck there with it on C8.
The D8 bishop is kind of... has a long journey until it can activate itself.
Yeah, it will be C6, Bishop C7, yeah.
There is still not very active.
Yeah.
Sorry, but you made the move with it.
Okay, but if you're trying to bring your light squared bishop, I just jumped my knight forward, yeah, prophylaxis.
Knight E3, yeah, making sure that black is not able to get to D5, because trading the knight versus the light squared bishop would be strategically kind of winning for white, because then you are stuck.
Why can't black go to D5? Knight E3 doesn't stop me of playing knight D5.
Yeah, knight D5, yes. But which one? Knight F6? Probably knight F.
F.
No, in order to try to open up
the queen.
Yes, knight FD5, and also that this knight maybe is heading towards the C4 square. If for example there is some trade on E3, then knight C3 can hop in with the tempo, hitting the bishop and the pawn on B2.
He went for it, right?
He went for it, yeah, knight FD5. There is some stability. The engine says that white is better, but I believe that Vincent is much more confident at the moment than 2 moves ago. Certainly he was very much worried of Bishop H6.
Yeah.
It's already a strategical game, which gives us the chance to move around. James, did you spot anything else?
Well, then let's just go to the other two all-important boards when it comes to the possible four-way tie. So first, let's go to Norbert Abdusattorov and Magnus Carlsen. Let's see what an angry Magnus Carlsen has crafted here from perhaps being too comfortable in the previous round and letting that game slip away. We'll see how he's faring against Norbert Abdusattorov. This time around, Magnus is piloting the white pieces. Just a reminder to those at home, as we make our way to that board, that all he needs is a draw here to lock up his spot and avoid that possible four-way tie. For Abdusattorov, same thing. A draw will clinch a top spot. A win could even push him all the way up to first.
But look at Magnus. He's looking around what's going on. So this is also part of a last round situation for a chess player, that you're just keep in mind who is what's going on, just to make sure that I'm under control. Understanding where it's all heading.
Yeah, now things are heating up because this move f7, f5 is strategically a losing move. But the reason why Nodirbek is doing it, because he knows that otherwise he will be squeezed, and he is hoping for bishop f7, long castles, and then e7, e5 break. Yeah, question mark, ignore it because it was the part of the plan. And trying to castle and break the structure with e5 based on this pin along the d file, and white has not yet castled. So the big question, do you have time to castle? Because let me even put it on the board, castles, black castles, we are hitting the pawn, so suddenly the queen hits the pawn, and if white plays c3 cemento, then suddenly maybe we will be able to push e5. Fe5, bishop takes e5 at least.
Knight f5.
Knight f5, yeah, that hurts. That hurts. So exactly, yeah, I wanted to illustrate. Yeah, I wanted to illustrate, but yes, the chess is not just about illustrating, it's about move per move calculation as well. So wait a second, but then it's very unpleasant because if black is not able to break out, okay, I have knight f8 to d7. Trading the knights.
At some point, maybe g5 will come.
Yes, also. All right, but let's go back to the live action. Bishop f7 on the board. Magnus is thinking 5 minutes 20 versus 6 minutes. This is trademark Nodirbek. He always pushes the clock. He always has more time. That's why he's also so extremely dangerous, a part of being a brilliant player.
Can I go with white bishop f3 for prophylactical reasons? No.
You could have. It was the second engine line.
I just thought that long castle, bishop c6.
Yes.
Now, believe it or not, that was the top engine line, b4.
I believe it.
Yeah. Because it's already a prophylactic that he gets ready to attack black's king if he castles. This is one of the things, and with white you don't want to castle so quickly because, as Judith highlighted, there is this g6, g5 break as well, not just e5. So what do we do with black? The problem, you would love to play g5, but you have to reckon with the hanging pawn on f5. But maybe at some point we have to forget about it. Just trying to open up the structure is the key to the position.
I mean, Magnus feels so comfortable. He's not a guy who chickens out when he was leading the whole tournament. Okay, he lost the game, but the way he lost it, he's not losing that very often.
No, without a doubt.
And also the opening, this sequence with the queen on h1 and then being able to play in this d4, d5 structure, this e4, d, queen e4, I think it's trademark Magnus. I remember commentating in the FIDE World Fischer Random Championship in 2022 in Reykjavik. He was already doing this. Queen takes e4, queen back to e2, and winning. Yeah, this is his beloved structure.
I mean, his body language tells all that. I mean, I feel comfortable. I'm going to win the tournament.
All right, well, if he's comfortable, then let's go over to Fabiano Caruana and Arjun Erigaisi to see how comfortable either of those players are feeling, because once again, Fabiano Caruana is one of the players, actually both of these players could end up in that four-way tie with the decisive victory one way or the other, moving up to 4 points.
That queen is still on h8.
Yeah, all the games featured the same exact variation. Just very quickly to highlight for our audience who had missed the action, that it all came from here, and white grabs the initiative, white gets the control in the center, g6, knight b3, knight d7, again the move bishop h6 could have been played but was not played by Fabiano. Instead he opted for bishop f4, castles, knight fd2, and that's how he got this lovely position. Just shows that the opening somehow was very critical.
Yeah. Interestingly, the bishop eventually found its way to h6, but not in the critical moment to stop the castle from happening. So the king has
that's a big difference.
A massive difference.
It's a massive difference, though. Look at this, how aggressive suddenly Fabi became for the last round. G4, push back the bishop. C4, push away the knight. So what's next?
That's the big question, because if the plan works, we will be praising that, wow, this was the right attitude, but he's also a little bit too aggressive. Let's not forget that the knight cannot really move from b3 because the queen from h8 would hit the d4 pawn. Yeah, this should not be missed.
I want to get my light squared bishop involved in the game. Right now it feels like it's not doing anything.
So to f3? No.
That's probably the most natural place. It hits the pawn, lines up with the queen. Nice little
Yeah,
queen bishop battery.
Probably I play c6.
Then maybe I bring my knight on d2 forward.
Well, then the pawn on c4 is hanging. Yeah, you have to watch out.
Okay.
Yes, you can even kick that knight all the way back to a6. Yeah, it's very promising, and this is what I think.
But let's go back to the game because Fabi's just started to a knight chase.
Oh wow.
Yes, a3, knight c6, d5.
So he just put his foot on the gas.
Yeah, he just says, okay, I'm just attacking, and something I will take on the way.
And it's retreat here for Arjun Erigaisi. He's playing on a total of 3 ranks. Well, Fabi's playing on 6 of the 8.
Wow, it's a very special position because the thematic move would be knight e5, hitting the pawn on c4 with the tempo. And I believe the key point is the quiet little bishop d1, e2, like you also felt you wanted to develop that bishop, and then f2, f4 is a huge threat, trapping the knight in the center of the board.
Are you sure he wants to go bishop e2 and not c5? Pushing the other knight?
Yeah, but if c5, then I get to jump to c4.
Can you?
Can I? Should I?
f4 is too much?
Yeah, f4. Okay, everything looks so tempting, so good for white. What is Arjun doing? How is he handling the situation? Heart rate? No, this heart rate cannot be right. No. This is impossible.
Yeah, normally I expect Arjun's heart rate to be quite low, but 45 is
too much.
That's resting for an Olympic athlete. So
this is just impossible.
But after knight e5, knight c5 is also quite unpleasant, I believe.
Yeah, knight e5 played. So now we will figure out, we will see what Fabi has in store for us. Bishop e2.
Bishop e2.
The professional move. The professional squeezing, yeah, with f2, f4, there is so much at stake, and you feel like you already played many aggressive moves. Yeah, you finally want to make also one stabilizing one. Yeah, just to.
What can you do with black?
I don't know.
Go bishop c8 after f4 to go back with the knight.
It's a total horror, or you speculate about some piece sacrifice with c6, f4, and knight e4.
Peace sacrifice.
Yes, a sad necessity. Instead of resigning, we prolong the game. Yeah, but what's happening?
Wow,
yeah,
f5.
But wait a second, now after c5, where is that? It's not only about the knight, but also this diagonal might be opening up. If black's king gets a check, it will be all over.
This is devastating.
But it speaks to the precariousness of Arjun's overall standings position here. Because if he falls down decisively to Caruana here, he's out. If he manages to force a draw, and Hans Niemann also ended up with a draw, then we would have a 3-way tie for 4th place. So there's still a possibility if he can kind of weasel his way back into this one and find equality down the line.
Yeah, but it's also this craziness of freestyle, yeah, because in the previous game he crushed Magnus in a fantastic game, and then he might be thinking that what did I do in this game that I got such a bad position right after 4-5 moves, yeah? I believe that somehow Black's team didn't do good enough job. Yeah, they just ended all of them ended up in this big trouble.
All right, some more retreating moves here for Arjun as Fabi continues to clamp down on the position. 3 minutes to his name, 149 to Arjun Erigaisi, and all the pieces have gone to the back rank. We're going to flip back over to Magnus Carlsen and Nodirbek Abdusatorov, where Magnus continues to press forward. And akin to the board we just came from, it's a retreating knight move for the black player as the most recent to be played.
Well, it looks horrible for black. I mean, the first thing I was thinking about, knight b7, c5. The very classical way of killing it.
Yeah, let's not forget, black has not yet castled. He had no time to castle, and Magnus opens up the position.
Well, if you're talking about it already, let's castle along.
You can?
Can't I?
Can you? But even bishop f6, ef, c5, and I'm getting some incredible structure, but probably I have something better. But long castle should be played, I believe. It's on the board, yeah.
Okay.
It had to be played. There was no other move.
I didn't like knight d7 so much. Maybe it's also good. But
Actually, there is maybe bishop a4. There is this pin. This could be also quite unpleasant because
that's annoying.
that's quite annoying. Yeah, bishop a4. And where do we go?
Queen e8.
Oof. Yeah, it's so sad. Because we know that all these players are hoping, they are fighting for qualification, and then for all the players who are having this terrible position, you can't not sympathize. And Magnus goes for the very thematic that I kind of highlighted immediately. Bishop f6, ef c5, it's possible, it's a safe advantage, but maybe it also eases Black's task a bit.
Yeah, maybe not the most accurate way to press forward.
But he knows that draw is actually good, so anything that he's better than pushing, risk-free advantage, is a dream scenario for his tournament situation.
And a draw is a dream for Abdusatorov. If he gets away with the draw here and moves up to 4 points, he's extremely happy. If he doesn't manage to get half a point here, he is no longer in control of his own destiny. He could be surpassed by the likes of Hans Niemann and either Fabi or Arjun.
Which brings us that also Levon against Hans Niemann is a super important game.
It's amazing how all four of our boards here in round 7 are actually impactful to the top 4 and the overall upper bracket heading into our weekend.
So let's see where they are heading to, because c takes d5 was played.
Yes, CD, knight d5, king b8, queen c3, bishop d5 happened. Black had to give up the light square bishop. This is a big heartache because now he's stuck with this horrible bishop on c7, which is controlled by the pawns f4, g3, h2. Yeah, it's a beautiful coordination, while the light square bishop on b3 is a monster.
Yeah, but I think Black has the best position in this game so far.
Yeah, queen c6, rook gd1, Magnus down to a minute. Rook gd1. Maybe just rook e8, just get out of this horrible pin.
Well, actually there is no threat, but that's the most logical move.
Yeah, I don't see any other move.
And it's there.
And it's there, yeah, Magnus. Okay, Magnus does not want to risk, and this is good news for Nodirbek.
Absolutely. Absolutely good news for Nodirbek. And perfectly fine news for Magnus, as we've mentioned. If he moves up to 4.5, he's at least locked a top 4 spot, position to be determined based on the other results.
And he can still even squeeze a bit. But, okay, queen bishop versus queen bishop, opposite colored, should be also very good drawing chances for Nodirbek, yeah.
All right, well, with this one, maybe some time to play as both players make their way to a draw offer in this moment.
Well, exchange of queens is a draw first.
Yeah, g5, yeah, now a handshake is coming.
Here we go, yeah, pawns and bishops. So we'll stay here for just a moment then. Expecting this one to end ever so shortly. And in doing so, booking both of their tickets into the top 4 here.
Well, Nodirbek is not yet guaranteed. He has 4 points, but if the results go wrongly, then it will be a big tie.
No, he is guaranteed top 4 because the only other people who can get 4,
draw agreed.
Hans, Fabi, Arjun, but only 2 of those 3, which would lock up the top spots. So just like that, we have a draw between these 2. It's going to be Magnus Carlsen moving to 4.5. He's 100% locked in. We'll wait for the mathematicians behind the screens to let us know about Nodirbek's situation as we move from here to Fabiano Caruana and Arjun Erigaisi, both of them sharing 3 points apiece. Caruana, though, has Erigaisi on the ropes here, looking to move himself up to 4 points in total, matching the likes of Nodirbek.
Yeah, he's up a piece, and Black's queen is still stuck on h8, this monster bishop on d4, controlling everything. Now finally that queen moves out, but wait a second, bishop takes, bishop e5, rook e5, bishop c4 check, there is knight d5, so it's not resignation yet, but yeah, knight c4 clinches it. It's all over. Knight d7, if you have to even retreat, and your piece done, and white has all the fun in the position, then we know that rook e4, bishop c4 check.
I was just
That's it.
wondering. I'm sitting distance from the screen. I'm saying, where is the third piece? Where is the third piece? I'm just looking, searching for black's third piece. And there is no.
There is Rook F6 coming and resignation.
Resignation from Arjun Erigaisi means he remains at 3 points and unfortunately will not make the upper bracket. Fabiano Caruana, he slots up to 4 points to his name, tying Norbek Abdusatorov and awaiting the results of our final two boards. Hans Niemann up against Levan Aronian and Vincent Keimer up against Javokir Sindarov. Taking a quick look at these games, it looks like from a clock perspective, Vincent Keimer and Javokir Sindarov are more advanced. So that's where I'd like to go, hoping we can catch the final moments of this game.
Absolutely, because it's a lot of interesting things happening.
Yeah, black is very solid, but still with this knight on c6, bishop f6 construction, while he's hoping to put some pressure. Black relies on the c5 square, so he wants to sit, rook b1. A4, A5 will be happening. And Vincent down to few seconds. He made a move with 2 seconds on the clock, 98. A very shaky move, very nervous move. Computer hates it. A5 played, bishop c5. Rook b5.
Chasing the bishop.
Bishop e3.
Knight d6 coming up.
This is now very critical, and Sindarov has a lot of time compared to Vincent. Yeah, he's still more than 20 seconds. But how does he find the rook e5, chasing the bishop? Where is this bishop hiding? The pawn on a7 is hanging. Yeah, Vincent is shocked. He missed rook e5. Bishop d2 played with second on the clock, or few seconds on the clock. Only move. Knight takes a7 allows rook takes c4, then black activates the rook. a6.
Dangerous pawn.
Very dangerous. Knight d6, trying to break out. There is only active defense can save Vincent. Create problems, and also Sindarov is down to 6 seconds. Dramatic c5. Knight b5.
Vincent has to make a move, 2 seconds.
He does.
Wow, with 1 second on the clock. With 1 second on the clock.
We've seen one game lost on time today. Vincent going to do his best not to have a second one lost.
But he's fighting very good. But there is still a lot of danger with few seconds on the clock.
It's very tricky. Being the bishop on c3 looks it's active, but actually the knight on c6 is just covering all the important squares.
Yeah, and rook b3 is kind of a very unpleasant problem. And rook b7.
Whoa.
Super move. Incredible move by Sindarov.
Trade of rooks not accepted because it would advance the pawn.
Yeah, Vincent is putting up incredible defense. Takes c6. And then bishop b6. The rook takes b6 wins. So you cannot cement the position with bishop b6 due to rook takes b6 sacrifice.
Now the king wants to get involved.
But does he have time
Was
to?
it the only move?
Does he have time?
In this moment, I can reveal that we did have a draw occur on the other board between Levan Aronian and Hans Niemann. So Hans will move up to 3.5 points, which unfortunately puts him outside of the top 4. No chances there, since Vincent is guaranteed to finish with at least 4 points to his name. Just a moment ago, that handshake extended, and you could see Hans immediately checking in with the rest of the boards to see if he had done enough, but unfortunately, that won't be the case this time around.
No, and he also looks that, wow, but Vincent is in trouble. Yeah, actually, if Vincent loses, is he still in?
No, if Vincent finishes on 4, actually our top 4 is determined, with Magnus taking the top spot and 3 players behind him at 4 points apiece.
So it will be a big tie.
A big tie for second place behind Magnus in first. That's, of course, if Vincent doesn't manage to turn this round and either manage a draw or a win.
Dramatic. Yeah, rook d8 trying to cut the king off. Very logical. The problem is that white can just gain time. Yeah, now rook c8, now bishop g2 back. Why not king d3, rook d8? So
because he wants to gain time.
Yeah, he wants to gain time. It's all about time. The players don't have enough time to think about the position, how to break the fortress. King d3, finally the king is coming. King c4.
Both players feeling the pressure of the moment. Once again, Vincent Keimer's heart rate rising, playing on intuition and instinct alone here in the final seconds.
Yeah, King b5. This feels like the winning method for white.
Well, white to move c7, king c6, game over.
Yeah, so rook c8, c7, king d7, but then, yeah, this is the only way to defend. Yeah, rook c8 played.
Now it's a zugzwang for black, so...
Okay, bishop f2, but f5, I'm afraid of f5 break, yeah. So he played g5, very strange. Why g5, why not f5? Now he breaks with f5.
He wants to do it the painful way.
Yeah, and it's winning.
Bishop d5.
Yeah.
Beautiful technique by Sindarov, actually.
Yes. No, okay, that's when you are completely pegged. The superstars will always find a way to...
Bishop f7 and then bishop e6.
And that's it.
What a performance!
Yeah, and you see how difficult it is for Vincent to digest this new scenario.
Yeah, definitely a tough one to stomach. But while it is a tough loss, at the end of your round robin, at the very least, Vincent did enough throughout the earlier portions of the day to remain on 4 points and ultimately secure a top 4 spot. For Javakir Sindarov, it'll be a sweet and sour finish to his round robin day as he gets the win, but unfortunately it's not enough to push him up into the upper bracket.
So now we will have to wait, yeah, because it will be playoff time.
Yeah, I'm gonna let the mathematicians behind me determine what any playoff scenarios might need to occur. Of course, we're reliving these final moments here from round number 7, as there was plenty of pressure on many of our pros who were staring down the barrel of a 4-way tie. That did not come to light, though, as Magnus Carlsen would get his draw up against Nurbek Abdusattorov, each of them finishing at 4.5 and 4 points, respectively. Vincent Keimer, 4 points as well, and Fabiano, with a decisive victory over Arjun Erigaisi, also sits at 4 points. Those will be the 4 players that sit in the top 4, with the rest just slightly behind them. Hans Niemann, the first of the pack in the lower bracket at 3.5 points to his name. So, with our top and bottom brackets determined, the question is whether or not anybody has to play for placing. We'll come back and let you know if any of that needs to take place. But before we do so, we'd be remiss not to get the thoughts of Tanya Sachdev and David Howell over at our Make.com Deep Dive Desk. Take it away.
Well, we've got news for you guys. Nobody's playing for placing here. We've got our top 4 bracket, the ones who'll be fighting for the World Championship title, and those who'll be fighting for the 5th place right now. Vincent Keimer, you saw him at the end of the match there, David. Though he lost, there was relief when he looked at the standings.
Yeah, results went in his favor. It could have been so different. We could have had a massive pile up on the same score, but somehow we avoided it. Somehow Magnus always emerges out on top. He saved his best for last there with a nice finish. Fabiano also saved his best for that final game.
But that's interesting what you say, because usually we've seen Magnus in the round-robin stages. You know, he takes so many risks and is usually full of flair, and then somewhere even struggles to get in. But this one, he did it very convincingly.
Exactly. It always looked like they were in control. I think that's where experience pays off. Magnus taking things calmly towards a draw. I want to highlight the opening, Tanya, because it seemed to go wrong for the team on the black side. For all of the black players, they were finding themselves clearly worse after just a few moves. And this game I've picked Fabiano Caruana against Arjun Erigaisi. And this ended up being very one-sided, but it could have been different if Arjun had found the right moment to strike. This opening position, black's queen, we'll talk about that later, passive. The bishop unable to move. Just traffic jam. It's a backlog here of passive pieces, but instead of lashing out, breaking out, which is what you need to do in these situations, even at the cost of a pawn, e5 was necessary. White shouldn't even take here because suddenly the black pieces flood out. The bishop would start hitting the queen. Even if white plays a move like this and the pawn drops, at least black will be able to breathe. But just to show how one-sided it became, knight to f6, a mistake. No pawn breaks, therefore no break in relentless play here from Fabi. He just started pushing things back. First pushing the bishop, tempo play. Next, hitting the knight, another tempo, then hitting the knight again. and hitting the knight again. One consolidation move, and as Peter, Judah, and James were saying earlier, this was just torture, and I wanted to show the final tactic, the way he won a piece. It was this position. After f4, a piece was given up due to the pin as retreating, the only real safe square, or one of the two. Check this out, trapped queen. Fabi just too good in this game.
I mean, that queen never made a single move for Arjun. Queen h8, and that's why it sort of called it a day and died. And with that, Fabi went through. David, that means that I know you're heartbroken that we don't get any tie breaks. There are a lot of reinforcements on this table, getting ready for those matchups. None of that coming up. But are you slightly disappointed to see one of the 4 players from the bottom not making it? Is there someone you were really hoping to get up there?
Yeah, somehow I predicted beforehand Sindarov. I thought it was his time. He started with a win, but a shaky middle patch, losing a couple of games in a row. That checkmate he dropped against Magnus ended up costing him.
Speaking of checkmates, I think you've got the move of the day ready for us as well, which we will be bringing up later for you guys. We'll come back with that, so you got to stay on with us right now. Lot of action today. 7 rounds, and in the end, you've got Magnus, Vincent, Fabi, Notterbeck going through. No tie breaks needed. James, what a day of chess. We've had the hits, misses, the brilliancies, the blunders, the flagging, all of that. How much fun was this?
An absolutely brilliant day of chess, and that was a 2,800 rated bait right there on the move of the day, if I do say so myself. We'll be back over to David Howell and Tanya in just a bit to get that move of the day, but first we need to reflect on the results of that final round and our overall group stage standing. So let's dive into it now. In round 7, again, we teased it. There was the possibility of a 4-way tie to make it into that upper bracket. Because of these results, though, that 4-way tie was not to be. Javakir Sindarov undoes Vincent Keimer, but Vincent will still move into the upper bracket because of the work he did earlier in the day. Levon Aronian and Hans Niemann, they'll tie it up at half a point apiece. Magnus Carlsen, and Notterbeck Abdusatorov will do the same. A draw between them. Fabiano Caruana and Arjun Erigaisi. They both entered this round with 3 points to their name, but it was Fabiano who got it done decisively, moves himself up into that top 4. So here's the picture at the end of the group stage. Magnus Carlsen, he takes sole possession of first place at 4.5. Only for a moment did it feel precarious, but he grabs it back. From there, he's got 3 players hot on his heels, each garnering 4 points to their name. Vincent Keimer, Fabiano Caruana, and Notterbeck Abdusatorov. They, of course, are chased by the lower bracket contenders in Hans Niemann, Arjun Erigaisi, Javakir Sindarov, and Levon Aronian. But from 8 down to 4 already in our battle for the top spot and the first ever world champion in the FIDE Freestyle Chess event. We've got to talk about the #1 finisher, though. He's the #1 in the world for a reason. Magnus Carlsen, what a day he had with just one maybe misstep there very late in the day against Arjun Erigaisi. What a showing he had.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he delivered. It was the first game. It was kind of shaky, I think, for psychological reasons. Also, he didn't feel comfortable to start out the tournament against Hans. But after that, we saw very convincing victories. 2 victories and then draw with Vincent. Okay, against Arjun, it was a problematic game, which probably it will come up in his nightmares. But when at the end he has to deliver just a draw or a win, okay, he got serious again. He said, okay, let's make a professional draw, and I'm winning the event.
Yeah, for a moment too comfortable, but just like that, he flips the switch and he shows us again why he is the man to be feared in this field of 8.
Yeah, and I think he showed how to play, how to approach a game when you only need a draw. You don't play for a draw. You put pressure on your opponent so that your opponent is hoping and begging for that draw. And then, yeah, he did not play the critical move. We had that with Bishop A4. Instead, went for this trade on F6, C5, and liquidated into opposite card endgame, which he knew that he is slightly better. If he wants, he can play for a win, but so like there is no need. And I believe that right now everybody is kind of curious that because he got the top spot, he has the right to choose and whom will he pick as his opponent in the semifinal.
It can't be an easy choice, right? You'd normally be hoping to look at, oh, here's the person who's clearly not in as good a form as the rest, but when everybody's tied, it's not an easy choice to make. I also know that it's not the easiest choice to make picking a move of the day. A couple contenders were thrown out throughout our broadcast, so I'll turn it back to Tanya Sachdev and David Howell. What do you have for us when it comes to the best move across 7 rounds?
Well, it was not easy. This pick wasn't easy. And you've been speaking about Magnus's brilliance throughout the day, David, and it started very early on today.
It did indeed, and you put this idea in my head. You mentioned it wasn't just one move, it was a kind of sequence. And the next move sets up the move of the day. This rook endgame should be drawn with best play. Magnus with the white pieces, Sindarov with the black pieces. This could have caused so much shake-up in the tournament if Magnus hadn't won. But here, if he'd raced forward with his king, the black king would have crept in. It looked like Magnus was trying to stop the black king from moving forward. He played the move pawn to b3. This sets it up, covers the black king's squares, sets the trap. Pawn to d4 played. We see a double question mark appear, Tanya. Such a natural move. If pawn takes pawn, the black king does get in, but move of the day was giving up white's pass pawn. The promotion, you could actually promote to several pieces here, but a queen, the most emphatic, and black resigned since taking this queen off the board would lead to a sudden, unexpected checkmate.
Beautiful. And this is the first win that Magnus has had against Sindarov in the round-robin portions of freestyle chess, and just the way he did it. And the thing is, had Sindarov fought against this idea and just spotted it, easy miss though, easy to say that, you know, after the game in retrospect, he should have stopped it, but an easy miss. But had he done it, we might have seen a completely different table at the end of the day. I mean, any move, b6, c5, a5, just get an escape for your king, and you're a happy camper.
Exactly. Fine margins, tight things at the top level here, and that ended up defining the tournament.
You know, for me, the philosophical question in chess and these kind of things is always the move of the day. Is it the winning move or is it the assist? Is it about the goal or is it about that b3 that actually made the black king go into a kill zone?
Oh, it's tough, right? Because b3 still objectively a draw, but g8, that finished it.
So that there we have it. Just at the very beginning, Magnus getting the job done, getting that first win. And you know, sometimes you've seen him pretty shaky at the start of the day, but that was not the story today for Magnus Carlsen.
No, exactly. The shakiness was towards the end, but he still got the job done.
But that means, David, that means, chat, that Magnus will have the pick at dinner tonight. You know, he's got his options there. What do you think is going on in his mind? What's your prediction there? You know him best.
I'm not sure what I'm looking forward to more, the food or Magnus's pick. I have a feeling it's going to be Nodebek. He always seems to play Nodebek in the knockouts. He always seems to get the better of him, even if the matches are tight. I think he's going to choose someone he knows. I can't see him choosing Vincent Keimer. So many people have made that mistake before.
So I think it's going to be between Fabi and Nodebek. The pick.
Yes.
So you think, yeah, I would go with that. I mean, if it's between Fabi and Nodebek, the kind of result that he's had against Nodebek as well in the knockouts throughout the Grand Slams, Magnus might go for him. So this is going to be a fun one to watch. Of course, breaking news coming in on that dinner table. We'll also find 4 other players who will probably be joining us at the bar. They'll be fighting for the 5th spot from tomorrow. But the World Championship run continues, James, for our top 4.
That's exactly right. And I've got good news for you, David. You don't have to pick between dinner and watching the show. You can enjoy the food while observing who it is Magnus Carlsen targets as his opponent in that upper bracket. We'll close out the day in just a moment with our thoughts, but we want to go quickly to an interview with Levon Aronian. Not the hottest start to his tournament, but a man that we're always happy to hear from at the end of the day. Take a look.
My position was overwhelming, and then I just blundered this bishop f6, and it has been a nightmare of a start. And then the second game, I was just trying to come back. It was a terrible game by me. And also the third game, I was winning against Magnus.
Kutib qolamiz. O'sha rasmiy Telegram kanalida ham, bizda ham e'lon beriladi. Do'stlar, bizni kuzatishda davom etinglar. Bizda hozircha buguncha shu. Demak, turnir jadvalini yana bir marotaba eslatib o'tadigan bo'lsam, Magnus Carlsen 4,5 ochko bilan birinchi o'rinni egallayapti. Vincent Keimer, Fabiano Caruana, Nodirbek Absattorov hammasi bir xil 4 ochko to'plagan holda ikkinchi, uchinchi, to'rtinchi pog'onani band qilishyapti. Hans Mok Niemann 3,5 ochko bilan 5-o'rin. RguidaXadrez va Javohir Sindarov bir xil 3 ochko to'plagan holda 6 va 7-o'rin. Levon Aronian esa oxirgi pog'onani band qilyapti 2 ochko to'plagan holda. Demak, bizda ham ertaga o'yinlarimiz davom etadi. Demak, Alberone musobaqasini ham kuzatishni unutmanglar. Soat 14:00da boshlanadi. Ungacha esa do'stlar, biz bilan, o'zchess bilan birgalikda bo'lganlar uchun kattakon rahmat. Keyingi efirlarda ko'rishguncha, xayr.